Hey everyone, how's it going? Thanks so much for tuning in. In today's video, we're going to be taking an in-depth look at the new 2019 Nissan Leaf Plus. Now, I'm a pretty big fan of the second generation Leaf, which first came out last year. I think it offers a really good value for people who want to get into an EV but don't want to spend a ton of money. The Plus builds upon the standard version by offering more range and more power. It's been a while since I've put out any in-depth tours, and I'm probably going to try to start diving back into that here and there as the opportunities present themselves. Nissan actually reached out with the opportunity to drive this car, so big thanks to them. I was already pretty curious to see what the Plus was all about compared to the standard model, so we're going to find that out together. I'm going to give you guys a complete in-depth tour of the car inside and out. We'll talk about performance, cargo space, fuel economy, features, and more. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So for 2019, you now have the choice between the standard Leaf and the Leaf Plus. The standard Leaf S starts at $29,990, while the Leaf S Plus starts at $36,550. Just like the standard Leaf, the Leaf Plus also has 3 trim levels: the base S, mid-grade SV, and the top-of-the-line SL like you see here. The SL starts at $42,550 and comes with pretty much every option under the sun. A smart key access system does come standard, so as long as you have the key fob in your pocket, you can lock and unlock the car by the buttons on the door handles. This example is finished in deep blue pearl and has a light gray leather interior. An all black interior is also available. There's some suede accents on the seats, as well as blue contrast stitching. The SL also gets some nicer interior finishings instead of the standard painted plastic. You have some faux aluminum trim across the dash and plenty of gloss black trim across the door panels and center console. To power it up, all you have to do is make sure you have the key fob within your pocket. Then when you climb in, look in the console, and you'll see a little push button. Just put your foot on the brake and hit that button to go. Driving an electric car is a fascinating experience if you haven't had a chance to do so already. On one hand, it's really not all that different from driving a regular car, but at the same time, there's a lot of unique things that make electric vehicles special. Each manufacturer has their own way of doing things, and it's really exciting to see new advances in technology and battery development and all of that good stuff. But if you haven't been behind the wheel of one, you just gotta try it. The Leaf uses a single-speed direct drive transmission, so it doesn't have any gears. You basically just put it in drive and go. To put it into gear, you have to first put your foot on the brake, and then just take the little selector in the console, move it to the left and down. While you're in drive, if you pull it over and down once more, it'll activate what I call B mode. That's what it shows up on the instrument cluster. Basically what that does is it takes more advantage of the regenerative braking system, so it captures extra energy off of the brakes when you're going downhill to help supply some extra charge to keep the battery up longer. If you have your foot on the brake and bring the selector over to the left and hold it, that puts it in neutral. Over and up is reverse. Once it's in reverse, a backup camera pops up. This one has a 360-degree surround view camera, which is nice. And if you listen carefully, you can hear the car makes a noise, so when you're backing up, it's basically like a pedestrian alert system because the car obviously makes no noise, so it's kind of like, hey, I'm backing up, watch out. To engage park, just hit the P button on top. There's a couple other things up here: Eco Mode and E-Pedal. Eco Mode, like a lot of vehicles, basically reduces performance a little bit to help boost range. So if you don't need full acceleration, if you're doing a lot of city driving, Eco Mode is a really good mode to be in. But my favorite feature of the whole car is what Nissan calls E-Pedal. There's a little toggle switch right there. This basically enables you to stop the car without using the brakes. I'll take it out on the road in just a moment and explain how all of that works, but once you get used to how this is, it is So much fun. The steering is, of course, electrically assisted, a rack and pinion design. It's not really sporty feeling per se, but it's very linear, very smooth. In the SV and SL, you have a leather-wrapped steering wheel. It's a D-shaped design, so you have some extra leg clearance down below here. There's some blue contrast stitching and big grip bolsters up top. This is where you can activate your driver assistance features, go through the driver info system and control all that stuff, cruise control, hands-free telephone and voice commands, and all of your multifunction controls for the driver's information system and the radio. The instrument cluster is a combination of an analog speedometer and a digital driver information system. There's a lot of information through here between media, navigation, economy data, info, settings, just all sorts of stuff. I especially like this little power meter, so instead of having a tachometer, you can see how economical you're driving, you can see how much power you're taking up by basically, throttle position, and then how much braking force you're enabling by the little light blue bar on the far left. It also shows your range, charge time, battery temperature, and capacity. This infotainment system is a new option for 2019. It's a larger 8-inch display compared to the previous 7-inch display. It's also very much like a smartphone in how it operates. Very responsive screen, pinching, swiping, all of that good stuff. You also have some smartphone integration technologies like Apple CarPlay. Pretty much every media option you can ask for is present and accounted for. The only thing that I don't really care about is that little clicker sound. It's a really stupid thing to complain about, but it sounds like the clicker sound from an old Windows XP operating system. But the infotainment system works great. The camera buttons up there, navigation. It's pretty straightforward. Also, like a smartphone, updates are done over the air, so you don't have to go to a dealership anymore and pay for expensive updates or do it via USB stick. It just happens in the background. If you don't want that little clicker sound, just go to settings and turn it off. Up in the overhead console, you have controls for all of your interior LED lighting. There's a sunglass container right here, hands-free Bluetooth microphone, and a button for SOS Emergency Roadside Assistance. You have a 3-position garage home link setup in the SL. The visors have vanity mirrors, and they're also illuminated. In the SL, you also have 2-stage heated front seats and a heated steering wheel. Outward visibility is pretty good. You have a large C-pillar back there, but it's not really obtrusive in any way. The B-pillars are relatively skinny, and you have small triangle windows at the base of the A-pillars, which help you see the front corners better. The climate control system is electronic. You have an automatic function in the middle, temperature to the far left, fan speed, defrost, recycling, different modes. Heat and AC are activated by the 2 buttons right there. With the smartphone app that you can actually sync up with the car, you can also precondition the interior. So if it's really cold outside, you can set the temperature to be warmed up by the time you come in, or if it's really hot outside, you can make it cold. As far as cabin storage space, you have 2 pretty good sized cup holders in the console, as well as a padded armrest. The driver's side portion gets a little bit more support than the passenger. Once inside, you have a pretty good size well. And then towards the front, there's another little cubby to fit a large smartphone. Your USB auxiliary and power outlets are also located up front. The glove box in this thing is massive. It doesn't lock, but it is damped, so it opens up slow and it won't just come crashing up against your shin. But as you can see, it goes back quite a ways. Lots of storage space. You also have pockets on the door panels. The front seats are very supportive and pretty comfy overall. I don't believe they're Nissan's zero gravity seats. They're not quite as cushy as some of the other higher end models that I've checked out over the last year, but still, they're pretty nice. I like the added detailing with the suede and the leather and the perforations across the middle. In the SL, the driver's seat is fully powered. Sliding, tilting, recline, and 2-way power lumbar. The passenger seat is manually adjustable. The headrests are adjustable, as are the seat belts. Overall space for front occupants is pretty good. There's ample headroom, good legroom. I really like the design of those floor mats. That's a pretty cool detail. On the driver's door, you have easy access to all of the power accessories. It's just a nice package overall. The front door panels also have padded material across the midsection and the armrest. The rear doors, it's just the armrest. The only thing really missing as far as driver comfort is a telescoping function for the steering wheel. There's a lever down below there that you need to release to adjust it, but it's only tilt. It's not really a big deal for me and my driving position, but it'd be nice to have the adjustability. Normally at this point in the video, I'll switch it up to talk about powertrain or chassis or something, but let's go ahead and soldier on with the rest of the interior, finish all of that up, and then we'll dive into the rest and take it for a drive. As far as the rear seat, there's not quite as much space as I was hoping for, but it's still pretty decent overall. I'm 5'10". I have to duck a little bit as I come into the interior. And then once I'm seated with a comfortable seating position for myself in front, legroom starts to get a little bit tight. I can sit back here comfortably just fine. I have a little bit of headspace left over, but if I want to bring my knees towards the middle, I start to hit the seat, so I kind of have to sit like this. With my head all the way back, I have about ½ an inch of wiggle space. The back seat's pretty comfortable overall, very similar to the front with just a little bit less lateral support. I have the camera directly at my line of sight right now so you can see the visibility. It's actually really good. The back seat sits up quite a bit higher than the front seat, so you can see clear across this headrest. It's a pretty open interior. Lots of glass, lots of light. Like I said, the rear doors have padded armrests, and down below, small cup holders. You can sit up to 5 people in the Leaf, but I wouldn't recommend someone of my height sitting in the middle. You go up a little bit higher, so more than likely you're going to hit your head on the ceiling, and of course, your knees are right up against the seats. As far as safety, in addition to Nissan's Pro Pilot Assist suite of driver assistance technologies, you also have dual airbags in the front seat mounted side airbags, and side curtain airbags for the front and rear. I'll list out all of the driver assistance technologies in the description box below because even I can't remember them. There's a bunch. Just like the front, the back seat has a combination of leather, suede, and perforated portions. There's no armrest in the middle, but both of the outside headrests are adjustable. On the backs of the front seats, you have 2 storage pockets. So what about cargo space? Because the Leaf already is a hatchback, it's inherently practical because it's just easier to get large items in and out. Behind the rear seat, you have 23.6 cubic feet worth of cargo space. If you wanted to expand for height, you can take out that privacy cover, or if you want to load stuff all the way to the front seat, you can drop the rear seat, which is a 60-40 split. The cargo well is pretty deep, there's illumination, and a spot on the far left to stow the charge cable. The only downside in how the seats fold is that it's not a flat load floor. You got a pretty big lip between the bottom of the trunk and these seats, but regardless, it's still a nice amount of space. Now let's go ahead and pop the hood. Here's where the big differences lie between the standard Leaf and the Leaf Plus. The standard Leaf has a 110 kilowatt electric motor and a 40 kilowatt hour lithium-ion battery pack. The Leaf Plus has a more powerful 160 kilowatt motor and a 62 kilowatt hour lithium-ion battery pack. Total range for this car is a little over 200, while the standard car is about 150 or so. In terms of actual horsepower and torque numbers, the Leaf Plus is putting out 214 horsepower and 250 pound-feet of torque, which, if you know anything about electric vehicles, you know that torque is available instantly. There's no powertrain lag, so it feels a lot faster than those numbers suggest. It's quite entertaining. Depending on where you live and how easy it is to access charge stations, the added range that you get with the Plus, I think, is definitely worth the money, not only for the extra performance, but you know, the convenience of it. Especially if you're new to electric vehicles and you experience what they call range anxiety, that will kind of alleviate that. I love how you can actually open up the hood and look at the engine like you would in a conventional vehicle. It's definitely pretty neat. For electric vehicles, you obviously wouldn't have the same miles per gallon ratings like you would with an internal combustion engine, but instead you have miles per gallon equivalent ratings. For the Leaf, it's 114 miles on the highway, 94 miles in the city, and a combined rating of 94 miles. On the left-hand side of the dash and on the key fob, there's buttons to open up the charge port in front. Good convenient access. There's also an LED light in there so you can see both charge ports at night. This is one of the differences with the Plus, just a different logo on the quick charge port. This is your standard charge port. You can do it on 120 volts or 240 volts. I would highly suggest, if you buy an electric vehicle, make the investment and get a 240 volt plug installed at your house. It's going to make charging so much quicker. What I really like about the styling of this car is that it doesn't scream, "Hey, I'm an electric vehicle, look at me." Aside from the zero emission badging on the doors and the trunk, it looks like any conventional hatchback. Very stylish if you ask me. There's a lot of cool details in the bodywork, a lot of which was influenced by aerodynamics, of course, for the best efficiency. Overall coefficient of drag is only 0.28, so it's pretty slippery. On the SL, you have LED headlamps, both low and high beam with LED daytime running lights. There's halogen fog lamps down below, chrome grille, and a really cool, like, ghosted blue mesh pattern. There's a built-in roof spoiler, partial LED tail lamps, a little diffuser down below there to just improve aerodynamics. The center section of the tailgate is blacked out, and that also goes up over the C-pillars, the spoiler, and ties into that to create what they call a floating roof line. The entry-level Leaf and Leaf Plus come standard with 16-inch wheels. These are 17s. More of an aero design, so you have those flat spokes, machine polished face, and dark gray painted pockets. Like I was talking about earlier, driving an electric vehicle is a very unique experience, especially if you've never been behind the wheel of one. What's really nice about this is that aside from not having an engine humming in the background, it doesn't drive any different from a conventional hatchback. There's no learning curve. There's no special way about doing things to be able to get in and drive it. You just hop in, press that button, put it in gear, and go just like any vehicle out there. But the inherent design of the whole electric vehicle package actually does a lot more than just, you know, provide you with good fuel economy and all of that stuff. It actually makes it fun to drive and just entertaining in general, because the placement of the battery packs is kind of in the middle of the vehicle and down low, so that does a lot for lowering center of gravity. It helps with vehicle balance and everything like that, so when you're taking corners and stuff, it's actually really sharp. It doesn't feel soft or anything like that. Like, it's comfortable, but it's very tight at the same time. It stays planted. There's not a whole lot of body roll. Plus, the most entertaining factor of being an electric vehicle is, again, the instant availability of torque. Now, 250 pound-feet of torque doesn't sound like a lot, but when you hit the pedal going 50 miles an hour, it's like, it actually really throws you back. You can literally drive this thing using one pedal. So, what do I mean by that? Instead of using the brakes or the brake pedal, unless you have like, you know, an emergency stop situation, when you're accelerating, you're going just like normal. But as soon as you start letting off the throttle, it actually starts applying the brakes. If you let off all the way, it applies the brakes harder. So if you time it just right, You can snake through corners, you can come to a complete stop at a stoplight, and all of that. It really is fascinating. I was a little weirded out by it at first, but like right now, I'm just coasting through the corner, hit that apex, take off, and man, it's just a lot of fun. As far as the suspension, this uses a independent, if I remember correctly, a McPherson strut setup in front and a torsion beam setup in the rear. There's front and rear stabilizer bars. It's a pretty nice suspension setup, like I was saying. Like, it feels tight, but it's comfortable at the same time. A lot of the driving roads around me are honestly pretty terrible. A lot of chip tar roads with horrible patchwork and all that stuff, and this does a pretty good job. See, like, there's some bumps right here. It does a pretty good job at soaking things up, and it's not very noisy on the road either. Speaking about noise, one thing that just a blanket statement about all electric cars: if you like a quiet car, like the luxurious atmosphere or whatever that a luxury car will give you, you'd be surprised about how nice, or what's the word? The perception of luxury that an electric car can give you, because, you know, let's be honest, the Leaf is not a luxury car, but it's really, really quiet. Like, it's awesome. It's a very relaxing drive. Well, everyone, that's going to wrap it up for this video. I hope you all enjoyed the in-depth look at the 2019 Nissan Leaf Plus. Be sure to leave a like below. I really appreciate it. It helps the videos out a lot. And don't forget to subscribe today and hit that little notification bell so you can get notified properly of all of the new uploads. I'll catch you guys on the next one. Take care.